And hello everyone and welcome to the return of the show. I am Ben and with me is my co-host Jose, and we are talking about Vox Machina Season 2, episodes 10 through 12, the season finale. Oh my god, these were so good.
Yeah, these were wonderful to watch.
With the show, I try my best to divorce myself from my fandom on this because I have been watching Critical Role for years at this point. It's how I got I started watching them right as I got into playing D&D 3 or 4 years ago, and I started campaign 2, and then campaign 1 I only watched when the series was initially announced 3 years ago. So I've been in it, and this season we've already talked that it's a little bit different. Episode 10, I was watching with my partners, and we both had goosebumps the second that the entire team showed up.
That was such a good...
It was...
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's my... I watched it days ago, and I'm still speechless when I talk about it, because, I think that is my favorite episode of the show in its entirety.
Yeah, you and I pretty much agree on this, because, everything just going on from the episode, we see Grog getting ready to stand up against Thordak. He gets the shit beaten out of him.
Oh my god!
And Pike and Scanlan try to help out. Doesn't really work too well, but we see them in the shadow. The rest of them in the shadows. So we all get a good view of it, and just cut between each person too.
It's just them realizing oh, help's arrived. We're being saved, and getting ready to move. I will say, I just want to give... They did Grog such a service with this, because previously his character arc is... And this happens in D&D pretty often, I feel is... All the things are there for a character arc, but if a player doesn't act on those things heavy in the roleplay in the moment, it might not be as satisfying as it otherwise could be. Or if you're at a table that doesn't facilitate those moments very well, but still has all the elements there, it can be pretty dissatisfying. And I feel that's... The Grog stuff was pretty satisfying, but the way that they were able to embellish the story more in order to make it happen this way, and for us to really feel for Grog in all these moments, 10 times better.
Yeah.
I feel what they did with Percy was pretty much on the money for what it was in the original game.
Mm-hmm.
It was short, it was sweet, it was impactful. I loved every single thing about this.
Yeah, this made me give so much freaking love to Grog, because it just played out so well and looked amazing.
I am we can get rid of oh, he's just the dumb barbarian stereotype. It's just nah, that's a fully written player backstory there, my boys.
It took a good minute to get there, but
it took us a while to get there. That is true, but
in the end, it was worth it.
He got his anime hero moment.
Yeah.
Also, he was buffer when he came out of having no muscles. Which, and I just want to say, they actually adapted a really strange thing here, because originally, the way that this unfolded with him coming to the conclusion that I get strength from my friends it's true. He went to the Earthbreaker and got his ass whipped in Vasselheim the first time.
Yep.
Absolutely wrecked. The second time that it happened wasn't when fighting Thordak that he came to this realization.
Craven Edge, right?
No. It was way later in the campaign. They go back to Vasselheim, and he's just you know what? We're going to make a pit stop. I want a rematch.
Oh.
And that's when he came to the, I get strength from my friends. And then they fought the Earthbreaker, except he was allowed to have 2 people backing him up. By the way, the Earthbreaker, level 20 monk, had the thing where he could stop your heart if you made a failed Constitution save.
Holy fuck.
Yes. Yeah. Really, really bad news. But he's ultimately speaking, that shit slapped. It was so good how they were able to pack it all nicely within the season. And the only other character that I feel honestly, they gave a lot of the characters this really well sort of packed storyline. But the only one that I feel really rivals what they did with Grog is what they did with Scanlan.
Yeah.
Because say what you will about this epic moment. It's my favorite fucking thing the show's ever done. Mm-hmm. The heavy metal music from Scanlan, so good. The other major character development really was Scanlan in this.
Yeah, I think this season was a lot of we did get a good bits of everybody practically. Yeah. But I think, of course, in the end, it was a good majority for Grog and Scanlan.
Yeah, I think Vax gets a really Vax is definitely third place in this. However, the amount of development that they did for Vax, because Vax is kind of learning something new. He's being thrown into something, and he kind of comes to the not inciting incident, but like to this moment of realization about himself throughout everything when he finally like confronts the Raven Queen in her temple, and of course he gets the wings, which just like the symbolism there is really really good. But it's work that he didn't have to do on himself. It's work that he had to do on a situation that was thrusted upon him and how he would adapt to it. Where Scanlan, we actually get a really clean picture of who he is.
Yeah. Also, just for the record, I think Liam O'Brien just loves characters with wings. I'm just putting. I'm confident in that now.
I feel like this just keeps happening to him because originally, I think we talked about this on the show. That vestige was slated for Percy.
Yeah, I think he did. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just because of a spur of the moment thing that it ended up becoming his, and the way that. Yeah, the way that all this unfolds and just like Vax becoming the champion of the Raven Queen, and also like we got some confirmation about those are indeed the threads of fate.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't people's lifelines necessarily, but it is very close in symbolism because it ultimately was the idea that those threads are leading towards their fate, which is i.e. death. Which turned into a very weird religious moment. Like they fully embrace him becoming a paladin. We're just like, okay, now he's religious. What's happening here? It's good characterization to kind of show that shift in gameplay to entering that class without it feeling completely out of the loop.
Yeah.
But
or if you're a person who doesn't understand what's happening, it just looks cool.
yeah, it just looks cool. It makes sense for his character to like embrace the fact that he's now the Raven Queen's champion in that moment.
Yeah.
It gives him the power that he needs to save himself and Scanlan when they're falling out of the fucking sky. It's like the way that they're able to actually, and again, this is an ensemble show, so they have the hardest thing in the world, and the fact that they have to focus on everyone simultaneously. And I didn't think that taking Percy out of the equation by doing his arc first would help with that, but it absolutely did. We didn't have to focus on Percy at all this season.
Yeah.
He just got to vibe and like hit on his lady. That's it. Which,
yeah.
By the way, we're going to be treated to so many good moments next season. Because I was talking about this with someone else, but like, i.e. my partner, there wasn't a lot of like the couples moments in these seasons. Like I think we get like one thing from Keyleth like trying to ask Vax to dance. Also,
dude, I actually felt so bad for her.
I feel so. Also, did they just not explain the fact that they weren't pursuing that? Did they just not explain that? I thought that they were still potentially a thing.
Dude, and then when she walks back to the table and fucking chugs the beer, I was like, same.
She handled the rejection like me right now. Just drink it away. God, no, poor Kiki.
She's just like me for real.
Also, she was being smooth. She had it. He's just an emo boy.
Yeah.
Just
It's always the moody ones.
Yeah, never trust the moody. Never hit on the moody ones. That will always be the thing. They'll just
unless you're drunk.
Well, nah, I don't know if I would recommend it. It will make the rejection easier for you. It is not condoned though. I would not recommend that. Also, don't try to sleep with your daughter.
Yeah.
I felt so. The fact that you last episode were
I don't want to.
He's a romantic. I think she's a romantic interest. I'm like,
can skip that part. Absolutely.
No, here's the thing. No, that's good because what they were doing is they were correctly telegraphing to people that weren't familiar with the character what Scanlan was viewing in the situation.
Yeah. And
honestly, kind of what the audience was viewing as well, because the issue with gnomes is that they look similar in age. They age at a very slow rate. So no one at the table thought that was going to happen. She was described as being youngish looking for a gnome, but not like a child. And the issue with gnomes is youngish looking can range anywhere between essentially 20 to I think 150.
Okay, so just a small gap. Got it.
Yeah. Which might be able to tell you something about Scanlan's age in the fact that they look somewhat close to each other and have been lit and that is sort of the age range for that level of maturity that they're both in it.
Yeah.
The homeboy finds out he's a dad.
Yeah. What a way to find out, though.
Oh
Like,
my god.
damn.
Well, they do what Sam Riegel did, where Sam Riegel was immediately like, I feel terrible about this. And it kind of played into the fact that, like, Scanlan is a character that would own up to it. That being said, it's also very obvious that Scanlan had a very reckless past, and this was a very true thing, which kind of leads me into the fun piece of Sam Riegel trivia we're gonna call it Sam Riegel lore that dropped recently on another podcast. Scanlan is based off of Eminem. Would you like me to go on? I see your face, sir.
Yeah, go on.
So, Scanlan, he was a gnome that grew up in a very, very poor community in the game. Had a tough relationship with his mother. The other thing that happened that they talk about a little bit in the show, but is somewhat of a retcon, is that he was discovered by Dr. Dranzel, i.e. Dr. Dre. Dr. Dranzel, for everyone that's wondering, is the orc fellow who's in charge of the little troop that Kaylee's in. And he has a daughter named Kaylee.
Fucking hell. I guess you better not lose yourself, huh?
Damn it, Jose. I'm upset now. Okay, I should have planned that pun. That's fine, but good on you. Yeah, no, it's like literally Sam Riegel. This was his first ever D&D character, and he literally just went to the Wikipedia page for Eminem
and just changed everybody's name, Scanlan.
He changed it to Scanlan, and roughly changed the names. However, Kaylee was actually an add-on by Matt Mercer, because what Scanlan originally did was he didn't mention that he had a daughter, and Matt Mercer thrusted this upon him.
Nice.
So, because Matt Mercer will play into whatever toxic trait your character has, and we'll put that into the backstory. Okay. Poor Mercer is like dealing with so many things with Sam Riegel right now, though. Like, his current character is a flat earther. Or he believes in a flat Exandria. But the campaign is focused on the moon, so he's like, no, the moon's a sphere. We can clearly see that it's a sphere, but Exandria, it's flat. And Matt Mercer is constantly trying to curb him.
Oh, I so gotta watch this campaign.
He can't do it. It's phenomenal if you are not watching campaign 3. Yeah, Scanlan's living it up. But like one of the things that is really focused upon, and they've been talking about this all season, is how Scanlan's treated by everyone else, and then of course his cowardice, which we have actually seen highlighted very, very often throughout a lot of decisions, even in season 1, and then to have this turn into a pivotal moment when they're facing down Umbrasyl is phenomenal.
Yeah, and especially with like in his mind, hearing Kaylee's voices, like the words that she said to him.
Yeah,
just like very much telling him what to do. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I think they needed to really focus on the fact that Kaylee is the most important touchstone for his character, because, and like this is something that that they even talked about in the campaign. Although Sam Riegel would always play it off as a joke, even though we would find out later that it was not true. That Scanlan was lonely and looking for the certain things, and he usually played it off as a joke because someone would be like, "Do you mean any of that, Scanlan?" And he'd be like, "Nah, I'm fucking with you." Yeah. But then, of course, later on, it turns into a really important piece for his character and why he makes decisions that are really important even later in the campaign. Scanlan actually is probably the most important character of Vox Machina, strictly for what he ends up doing on the battlefield, which, I mean, like, we saw it today. We saw it today. Originally, it was the dimension door into the belly of the beast. In this one, they foreshadowed it by having him put a hand up Grog's butt.
I couldn't believe what I was watching at this point. I could, but I couldn't.
I just remember it was someone spent an entire day drawing and animating a dragon's asshole in order to get that shot done.
Also, Umbrasyl's reaction as soon as they're like, you can't make this shit up. You really can't.
Well, I think the worst part is that's not even what they did in the game.
Is it not?
It was a dimension door into his stomach. But they were like, we haven't established dimension door. They don't have teleportation in this version. So also they did the finger motion correctly. Like it was like it wasn't a fist, it was
Also, let's not talk about I think it's in the next episode when they crawl out of the belly and then Vax says, nice fisting. And then Scanlan says sticks practice.
Yep. I mean, Scanlan's well established to have been all over the place.
We know.
But I'm just glad that they've done what they did with him, because I was really worried that they were gonna do one of two things. Either they weren't gonna give him his hero's moment, which they did, or that they were just going to let him continue being the butt of the joke by everyone else in the group. Which it seems like he's earned some respect finally, which he really, really needed based off of how everyone was treating him this season, which gives us a little bit more faith in Vox Machina, because now we're at the point where I feel like a lot of people that were complaining about Scanlan's character of like, oh, he's just the dirty bard, are not going to be able to really say the same thing anymore, because there's definitely a lot more going on than just being the filthy, horny bard.
Mm-hmm. But
at the same time, I feel like we are going to see some of these same points of conflict continue to grow. That being said, they buffed the shit out of Umbrasyl so that they could buff Scanlan later.
Dude, Umbrasyl was
my god,
and it's reckless and insane.
I wasn't expecting them to give him the Vestiges powers. The being able to see where the things were, I figured that was going to be the case. They wrapped up the Vestiges, just normal powers that they give to bards into it. So invisibility, that was just something Scanlan could do, became Umbrasyl's. The being able to heal, that's going to be a big thing, is Scanlan's going to be able to heal people because of that sword, which, I mean, bards could always do in game, but they actively made a choice to make sure that Pike was the only person that could heal people,
right? And
that's just going to be no longer the case. So we're going to now have the two gnomes being the healing people, which I feel like is going to establish that relationship a little bit more. I already see Scanlan like healing Pike in the future, and that's going to be a little moment between the two of them. Just the way that they've gone about everything here is so good, but really, like, the Umbrasyl fight, the amount of hopelessness that I felt during that, there were like parts, even though I knew that they won, that I was just like, they're gonna fucking lose.
Yeah, there's a lot of like good back and forth, but like, okay, we're going somewhere. No. Wait. Oh,
it legitimately took them 3 sessions in order to kill Umbrasyl.
Jesus Christ!
Well, that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people underestimate about because they made a mistake. So in Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of people it was a meta decision. They didn't want to go to his lair and have him use lair actions.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's why they tried to do it the way that he did. But he got to fly, run away, and heal himself. But the party didn't, because the party could only short rest, and they were like really low on short rest, which they were able to illustrate. But the actual way that this unfolded is they did everything the way they set that big trap. It worked. They weren't able to kill him. They did teleport in. What they originally used instead of that dagger that holds in place was an immovable rod, which effectively is like the same thing.
Yeah, I know that big thing.
Yeah, the entire way that they went about it was like a very meta decision, and then in this they decided that it was like, oh, they just don't know where the lair is, which was perfect. The amount of bullshit that they had to deal with, though, as far as killing him, pretty much was 1-to-1 with the campaign, though.
Damn.
The follow 3 different fights, 1 on the ground, 1 midair, and then 1 at the lair. Which, honestly, that's the reason it took a solid 2 episodes in order to kill him.
Jesus.
So, they did a good job with it, and also, yeah, Ancient Dragons. not to be fucked with.
Yeah.
That is how much it takes to actually kill them.
Especially one with the power of a freaking relic.
Oh my god. Well, he's not the only one that uses magic though, because the next ancient dragon that we are given a direct line to,
Vorgel or
Raishan in this
Raishan,
case.
okay.
Vorgel we will get to, but Raishan is a much more pertinent issue right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So they introduce the fact that she uses magic right off the bat when we meet her in the first episode of the season. The thing that a lot of people that are familiar with the source material would have caught was that when they made it through the Sun Tree, there was a little girl with green eyes that stared back at them.
Right, okay.
That was Raishan.
At what point did she get there?
So, in hard Dungeons and Dragons lore, like way back in the day, I'm talking like 3.5 edition and earlier, all dragons could use magic and were considered sorcerers.
Okay.
And for the older you were, the more magic that you had. Dragons were really, really difficult to deal with because of this, because they weren't just these big beasts that did things and could talk. They were magic users. They could heal themselves. They could cast magic at you. They didn't just use a breath weapon. And what they did here, Matt Mercer decided to do, was he decided to make this one specific dragon a sorcerer.
Okay.
And one of the things that this dragon has, and especially green dragons in particular, is polymorph. And it just polymorphed itself into a human, whatever human it wanted to be. So it came through as this little girl, and at some point replaced Keeper Yenin. So, the question is Keeper Yenin still alive?
I want to say so, because as we see, especially by the last episode, Raishan's not, as far as we know, not like too much into causing destruction, mayhem, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because we find out that Thordak is basically doing his own thing now.
Yeah. The Raishan is much more focused on dealing with Thordak, apparently. And make no mistake, Raishan probably has some ulterior motives. Dragons are inherently selfish. Everything that they said in the beginning about dragons is very true. And the fact that they don't usually want to work together. So something about Thordak has caused this alliance, and you can kind of tell from the way that he treats Brimscythe that it's not Brimscythe. God damn, I keep getting Brimscythe and Vorgol and Umbrasyl. That it's based out of fear.
Yeah,
because we don't really get a lot of one-on-one time with Raishan, and we don't get a ton of one-on-one time with Raishan.
Yeah, we haven't seen known it was Raishan since I think the first episode.
Yeah, the first episode they're like Raishan's gone missing, and then the big Lance Redrick, Thordak, Commander Zavala is just like. Just let them be. They're doing their own thing. Because the thing is that there's another thing that's hinted at in the beginning, that someone helped them out of the fire plane. And it was someone that looked like them.
Okay.
It was someone that looked like one of the fiery Shari. It was likely the only other dragon that we could see that could change itself. Which means that for whatever reason, Raishan had a motive in order to actually get Thordak out.
Yeah.
So the question is, well, what's Raishan's motive? And then what is Thordak's motive? Because it's also established, and this was not in the original to my remembrance. I remember him gathering the gold because that is what dragons do. And he just wanted to subjugate everything. I do not remember there being that many eggs. And I do not remember the gold being needed for an additional plan.
Well, I don't know about the gold part. Definitely not. That's always been the weird thing with like dragons, like they're just the collection horde shit.
So, I mean, if you want to get it really into the fun stuff about D&D lore, is different dragons have different types of hordes. So red dragons hoard wealth. Mm-hmm. Green dragons hoard accomplices. They hoard people. They hoard connections.
Okay.
So a green dragon's entire thing is actually to be a mischievous, sort of like just a mischievous fellow. They actually are really good at playing into political intrigue, which is the reason why most people will make them sorcerers so that they can polymorph it interface with other people. But their entire thing is always manipulation. I believe, if memory recalls, black dragons try to hoard suffering, but they will also have some sort of treasure hoard. And I forget what white dragons are. I think white dragons actually focus on carnage, and they are literally just focused on destroying as much as possible. I forget how all those personalities play into it. If someone wants to correct me in the comments, please do so, because I did not look this up, and I do not have a Dungeon Master's guide on me.
But I think the Army of Dragons is pretty much what it is. An Army of Dragons. Thordak wants to be unstoppable and fully
take over.
Taldore?
Taldore. It will likely expand to all of Exandria, though, if there's this kind of power. The fact is that an entire country fell because of 5 dragons, and if they can hatch a ton of dragon wormlings, and those dragon wormlings can be allowed to grow to adulthood, you're looking at an age of dragons, which, if you know things about D&D lore, and that's very bad. There is an alternate planet in Dungeons and Dragons lore that is ruled by dragons that the Dragonborn came from. It's not really a planet. It's more of like a different plane, sort of, but not really. The Forgotten Realms is weird, and that's not the canon that Matthew Mercer uses at all. He uses his own thing. Honestly, we're not even still sure of the origins of dragons, to my knowledge, but that may have been printed in one of the books that came out in the last couple of years from the evil company Wizards of the Coast. So hopefully Darrington Press starts printing these things instead of Wizards at some point, because that would be fantastic.
But I did call that this whole final thing will be dealing with Umbrasyl.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that Anna Ripley will slip out of the shadows.
Oh, she got out. She was like, Vox Machina is coming here? Nope.
Fuck this shit out.
She's like, they've been collecting vestiges. They killed my last employer. I'm not staying here. She's a betting woman.
Yeah.
And she hedges her bets correctly. She's not going to fuck around and find out. She's probably going to go around and she's going to be like, okay, either Vox Machina is who I need to broker power with because they might win, or she's going to look at more ways of gaining power so that she can continue whatever her goals are.
Yeah, it's weird too, because we legit don't have an idea.
No, we don't know what her end game is, what she's doing at the moment. We know that she's rebuilt a wooden hand for herself, but that's it. We haven't even seen her brandish a weapon. All we know is she has this orb that she seems to be able to scry on people with.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that she made a deal with Umbrasyl, but
but it wasn't with the rest of the Chroma Conclave.
Right. It was because she was also pushing for Umbrasyl to collect the vestiges and basically
go to Thordak. Yeah,
fight him.
I mean, she seems to hedge her bets. I am worried about what's going to happen with her later. Not in I'm worried about what the story's going to do, because if anything, season 2 has proven to me that they can adapt the rest of this campaign very, very well. I am worried about what's going to happen to the characters when we meet her again. Because Ripley is smart and not to be fucked with, and the last time we met her, she was at such a disadvantage. What's going to happen when she's on an even playing field?
Or even a better playing field for her too, depending on
what her goals are. Yeah, we don't know if she's going to go after Vox Machina. She doesn't really have a direct reason to kill them, but she might be just going after power.
Yeah, I think there might be one other person before she ends up possibly turning to Vox Machina if needed, but I do think she'll try to find at least one more person that she can make a good bargain deal with.
Yeah. Question is who's open to make deals with the one-handed mad scientist? That's the big one. And with that, I think that concludes this season's coverage of Legend of Vox Machina.
Do we think season 3 will come out before Mighty Nein, or?
I think it will come out before Mighty Nein. Honestly, what I think... Oh, you know what? No, we're not done our coverage because I forgot to say something really important to what the timeline of this is. We got confirmation recently because of the way that Critical Role is now doing their post-show podcast, and they're going way more in depth. That song in one of the previous episodes, "Making My Way," that was written and recorded in 2020.
Oh, okay.
That's they were at least 2 to 3 years out on that, which means that season 3 is probably already heavily in the works.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and if Mighty Nein just got greenlit, also one of our commenters mentioned that this might be a 5-season run, 2 seasons for Chroma Conclave, and then 2 seasons for essentially the last 2-ish arcs. One of which in the middle is not necessarily... I don't know whether to call it an arc or a collection of small, tiny stories. But we're potentially looking at a 5-season run of this. The amount of years that it took for this show to initially come out after development started,
yeah,
I think it's a strong chance that they will finish the show and then they will start Mighty Nein.
Well, don't forget, because the trailer, small little bit for Mighty Nein, they did have a... Well, I don't know if it was a full pilot script or if it's like...
No, those were voice bits taken from the original stream.
Gotcha. Okay,
but they do have a script.
Yeah, they do have a script. Either at least the pilot is written, or it's in the middle of it.
Yeah,
it basically is an in development thing.
Yeah, we know for sure that it's in development, and in development, I mean, like,
it can vary.
We have worked on shows before for like much smaller things where a pilot script will see like 20 revisions.
Yeah, a whole bunch of different revisions. Sometimes probably recast or
re-recorded.
Hell, fucking animation too.
Yeah, because I think that the nice thing now is that they are locked into a visual style.
That's true, yeah.
And they can continue that visual style. They might want to change it up though. They could completely change like what the art direction is for the Mighty Nein show.
I gotta be honest, I think it would do best if they do keep it.
I agree. I think that there's an importance to having a consistent language across your IP.
Yeah, not to mention it on the logos, we do see Critical Role's things. So like,
yeah,
different animation, which isn't necessarily bad. I feel like it would give like a diverse feel to it.
Yeah, it would allow for the 2 shows to feel distinct among each other. We're just gonna have to wait and see. The Mighty Nein is what my introduction to Critical Role is. It's going to be a very different show because it is the campaign in which everything went wrong for Matt Mercer. Something happened very early on that prevented him from doing the story that he originally wanted to do.
Oh wow!
And other storylines that he originally planned on, the player character said, nope, we're not doing that. We are going to do the most impossible things. And they managed to pull it off, even though Matthew Mercer made it very, very difficult for them to try.
That sounds insane. But
so
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Campaign 2 is a DM's not worst nightmare, but it is a very good example of storytelling is not always in the hands of the DM. So with that, now we will see you guys probably for next season, but we're going to be looking... Attack on Titan's coming out soon, and we're going to be covering that. That is most likely going to be Abraham and myself, but Jose does make appearances, at least in the editing room for that. So if you want more of this, stay tuned for that. That's going to be happening in early March. Otherwise, we are continuing our coverage of The Last of Us for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been The Return of the Show.